This is Emulated's 2019 guide to setting up Cemu, the Wii U emulator. If you're completely new to Cemu, or if you're trying to upgrade a previous version, this short and fast guide is for you. Together we'll walk through the process to get you playing the games that you love as fast as possible. Whether you're looking to update your current Cemu installation or you're starting completely from scratch, the steps are pretty similar both ways. So let's just open up our current Cemu installation in Cemu 1.14. So I'm going to show you the migration process, and again it's very similar to starting from scratch, and in both cases you want to go to the official Cemu website, which is www.cemu.info. Links to everything are going to be down in the description as well as posted in the top pinned comment, so you can follow along there. You want to hit the download tab and download whatever the latest release is. Currently it's 1.15.4b, so just click download. I'm going to open up with WinRAR, and so here it is opened up. We can just click this and drag it into our folder. And that's step 1 complete. The next thing that we want to do is step number 2, which is install something called Cemu. This is the Cemu website, and this provides a whole bunch of additional functionality that isn't yet coded into Cemu. And from the very early days, one of the great things that Cemu provided was different hacks for increasing the frame rate as well as playing the H.264 video files in games like Zelda Breath of the Wild. So you want to go down and make sure that you download the most up-to-date version. It looks like Cemu 0.5.7.1, wow, a mouthful, supports versions 1.12.1 to 1.15.4. So you're going to want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date version of everything throughout this entire process. But for some weird reason you're trying to run an older version of Cemu, make sure that you have the appropriate version of Cemu. So it's all documented here, along with all the information. So let's click on this. What you want to do is highlight everything here. You can see that there are some duplicates here. So, well, there's one duplicate here, graphic packs and graphic packs. Cemu comes with its own graphic packs files. You're going to want to select everything and drag it over to your Cemu installation file, and it will just overwrite anything that's there. The next thing you're going to want to do, if you are copying things over from your previous installation, you're going to have a keys file. What does the keys file do? It has a list of keys that the Wii U uses to verify games, and it's a security check so that it can run them. So if you're doing this for the first time, you're not going to have a keys file. I'm going to link something down in the description below, which is going to give some more context as to what the keys files are, how to obtain them, especially if you have a console, because you can grab them from your own games. The next thing you're going to want to do is install Cemu graphic packs. So you can go to this website here. Again, this is also going to be linked down below, and you want to make sure that you have the most supported versions for your build of Cemu. And of course, Cemu 1.14 and newer is supported in version 3. So click on this, and here we go. There's a whole bunch of games here. Usually for my Breath of the Wild modding stuff for Zelda Modders Toolkit, I just pretty much go right to the Breath of the Wild stuff. I highlight everything I want and I copy it over to the graphics packs folder. You're going to want to go through this list and find all the graphic packs for all the games that you want to play and copy them over. So really simple to do. You just go to graphic packs, and this is the directory. I have all my folders highlighted here. I'm just going to click and drag them over. It'll take a moment to do. I'll say yes to that because it's a newer version. And there we go. There they all are. Another thing incredibly important to an enjoyable Cemu experience is preventing stuttering and pushing your frame rate up as high as possible. Of course, there are a bunch of different factors involved in this, and it really comes down to your hardware for sure, but having a full shader cache is so important. So if you have shader cached for a game in your previous directory, this is how you copy it over. You want to go into shader cache directory and go into transferable. This one right here, the dcac9927.bin, this is for my Breath of the Wild installation. Each game has a different identifying title, which is numbers and letters. You're going to want to figure out what that is by running the game in Cemu and looking at the title bar. It's going to give you this code. So copy this. Don't worry about pre-compiled, because Cemu actually takes the transferable shader cache and then it compiles them. All that data sits in the pre-compiled directory. So make sure you go to transferable again, grab all your transferable shader caches, and then go into your new directory, and it's just gonna straight up copy and paste right into transferable. There we go. Now, if you aren't copying it over from a previous installation of Cemu, there are places to download these files. I will also link those below, but know that if you can't find them yourself, Cemu will actually begin to compile them over time as you play the game, and as you play more and more of the game, the settering's going to reduce because the game's not trying to load all those files in real time. Alright, so I have the previous installation of Cemu on the left here and the new installation on the right. And let's go over everything that we've done so far. We've downloaded and installed Cemu. We've installed the Cemu-hook files. We've copied over the keys file. We've installed the graphic pack files that we need for the game. We've copied over the transferable shader cache. And the next thing we're going to do is copy over all of our save game files, which of course is only applicable if you have save game files. If this is new and you're setting this up for the first time, you don't have to worry about this. In addition to doing all the save game file stuff, we also want to install our game DLC if there is any, depending on the game. For this specific one, it's Breath of the Wild, so we're going to have it, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And of course, it's not just DLC, but also the game updates. So everything is actually stored in this MLC01 folder. And if you're just updating or transferring everything over to a new version of Cemu, you can simply just copy this MLC01 folder and paste it into the directory of your new Cemu build. And it will take a bit of time to copy everything over, especially if you have game downloadable content and updates installed. So your saves, the DLC, and all your updates will copy over. And that's all you have to do for that step. But if you're doing this for the first time, we have to get a little bit more in depth into how the process actually occurs. And you can do it manually, or you can let Cemu do it for you. And I think that's the easiest thing to cover. So we're going to open up Cemu. And what you do is you go to File and Install Game Update or DLC. And you want to navigate to your directory where you're actually storing the game. So in the example here, again, we're using Breath of the Wild. It doesn't matter, as far as I'm aware, what you choose first, whether it's DLC or the game updates to install. So you can really choose either one. I have my setup completely different because of all my modding stuff through Zelda Modders Toolkit. So I'm not actually going to do any of this right now, but I'll just show you. You'd click on your DLC directory or your update directory and then go to the meta directory, and there's an XML file here. You'd click on this and hit open, and what you're going to see is a little bar that comes up, and Cemu is actually going to copy all those files over to the MLC01 directory in the right place for the right game. Again, for this specific example, I'm just doing the transfer over, so I'm going to copy and paste this over. It's a few gigabytes, mind you, because it is the saves, it's all of the Zelda downloadable content and the updates, so you're not going to sit through this and watch this whole thing go. We'll catch up on the other side. Alright, with everything copied over, we can actually, it's up to you, you could actually delete your previous installation of Cemu if you wanted to, or you could just keep it as an archive. It would have your backups of previous game files and things like that. But we're going to close this out because I don't need it anymore. And we're going to open up Cemu for the first time. All right, here we are. This is Cemu. Let's hop into the about. Version 1.15.4, but of course this is going to apply to you. If this video is still up, you know that it's the most recent version. Nothing has changed significantly. If things do change, I'm gonna shut this video down or say that it's depreciated and post a link to a newer build guide. But yeah, Regenerate Productions right there. That is me. Let's close that out. Now what you're going to want to do is update your shared fonts. This is something that the Cemu hook allows you to do. So hit download now. It'll take a moment. It's going to download them. They're fonts for things like the web browser and the Wii U OS and things like that. All right, it says it's finished. Now this isn't going to be too much of an in-depth breakdown of all the settings in Cemu, but what you're going to want to do, things like your input settings, you're going to want to get your gamepad all hooked up here. Just to show you quickly as an example, I have my Wii U Pro controller right here. It's hooked up to my PC via the Mayflash adapter. So I go through here each time. Usually I'll set up a new controller profile, but you can also save them and copy them over from your previous installation. So yeah, you just sync your controller. You're gonna wanna make sure that you pick the right controller from the controller list. That little thing will say that's connected, and then just go through and hit your buttons. I'll save that as Regenerate for later. The next thing you're going to want to do is go down to the GPU buffer cache accuracy, and it will be set to medium by default. But if you need a little extra speed, you can set it to low, or which is a fast setting. Now, if you've copied over a bunch of graphic packs, you're going to want to go into the graphic packs tab. Here they are for Zelda Breath of the Wild. There are a bunch of different things here, and I'll dive into them in a newer video at some point in the future, but what we're most interested in is increasing the resolution at this point. So go down to resolution under graphics tab. By default it's set at 720. Let's just crank it up to 1440. There are a bunch of other things you could tweak in Cemu, but to start, they're not as important that you become really familiar with them. I might make another video on diving into those specific details on tweaking them, but for now you can just ignore all this stuff. It's all about how the emulation is emulating the game on your processor and things like that. Which cores are being used to process, not as important. And of course there's a bunch of logging and different settings here, Cemu hook settings. Don't worry about any of this stuff right now. And that's about it. What we want to do now is play our game. So as fast as possible, let's get into our game. So let's load a game. And of course, the game we've been setting up here is for Zelda Breath of the Wild. So let's open it up. And it's really as simple as that. So there we go. We have Zelda Breath of the Wild set up and it's running. Bunch of different things you can do with graphic packs in terms of trying to speed up your FPS and things like that and squeeze a little bit more performance out of it. Those things are really important, especially depending on the hardware on which you're running the game in the emulator. But right now it's running at a solid 30 FPS. Once we get into the game, that'll probably be the case as well. I will make the next video be about diving into tweaking settings to get the most out of your specific hardware, and there are a bunch of different tips and tricks to do that. I just wanted to make that a separate video and make this solely about how to set Cemu up, because there really are a lot of things that we can talk about, and I just want to make this really short and quick. This was really just a update for people who are wanting to update their Cemu installations, or for people who have never encountered Cemu, the Wii U emulator, before and want to know how to get into it and play games as quickly as possible. So I'll leave it at that. I'm going to play some Zelda, and I'll see you in the next video. This video is made possible thanks to your support. please continue to like, comment on, and share Emulated with your friends. You can also level up your support by becoming a Patreon supporter like these awesome people.